The Wall Street Journal has just described Donald Trump's experience with an appeals court over one of his favorite authoritarian pet projects as rough, painful, and judges weren't buying it. And I have all the satisfying details over their pushback of our commander-in-chief of corruption coming up next. This featured story, which strikes at the core of Trump's reckless economic agenda, isn't the only economy-related news that broke today. I will share the bombshell the court and Wall Street Journal dropped in just a minute, but first I want to share some equally satisfying clips of Fox and MAGA melting down over the just-released jobs report. Let's begin with a Fox panel. Check out their stunned reactions in real time over the dismal news.
The NASDAQ down about 200, going 73,000 jobs. 73,000 jobs created in the month of July. Number just coming out.
And that's total.
4.2% is the unemployment rate, right in line with expectations. Here are the numbers. For the month of July, jobs came in at 73,000. That was lower than the expectation, which called for 110,000 jobs. The unemployment rate right in step with expectations at 4.2%. Steve Moore, your reaction.
Look, I think this is all a result, this disappointing number is a result of all the turmoil over tariffs and the trade wars.
Today's report is really going to shed more light that this was a very weak report. The revisions, certainly to May and June, are very concerning. I'm surprised unemployment is just at 4.2%. I know that, they're looking at that number, but they need to look at the whole picture. We do see a softening market. I am concerned about the labor market.
Let me try to be as objective as I can. It wasn't a good jobs number. It wasn't. The job market is softening. Our business people are creating fewer jobs.
So what is the solution? Better policies, perhaps? Not so fast with your ethical and practical solutions. MAGA influencer Steve Bannon suggests taking over the department that creates the numbers and changing the numbers. I cannot make this stuff up.
First off, I want to talk about something you've been on here for 4 years complained about, and that is the Bureau of Labor Statistics and whether we get accurate numbers. Now, everybody's talking about the number here. It's 250,000 jobs. They're like on the downside. It turns out we didn't get, and now it's a restatement. What in the hell is going on there? And have we put in our own person into BLS? Is a MAGA Republican that President Trump knows and trusts? Are they running the Bureau of Labor Statistics yet, sir?
No, unfortunately, Steve, we still haven't gotten there. And I think that's part of the reason why we continue to have all of these different data problems.
So the data problem is actually a staffing problem. Only in Donald Trump world are things like this said out loud. Well, Trump, MAGA, and Fox, you have another data problem as revealed in this report by the Wall Street Journal editorial board. A rough day in court for tariffs. An appeals court seems skeptical of Trump's use of an emergency law.
Well, that was painful. For the Trump administration's lawyer, that is. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit on Thursday heard oral arguments in a challenge to President Trump's worldwide tariffs, VOS selections, Inc. v. Trump. Judge after judge doubted the administration's arguments. The administration says the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act grants a president sweeping authority to impose tariffs. The 11 judges were mostly skeptical. Out of the gate, one judge pointed out that no president has ever used the emergency law to impose tariffs. No problem, replied Justice Department Attorney Brett Shumate. He said the law is written broadly to let a president regulate the importation of foreign property if he declares a national emergency for any reason. Mr. Trump in February invoked a fentanyl emergency to slap tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada, and later declared the trade deficit an emergency to justify border taxes on anyone. The judges weren't buying it. Why would we read tariffs into that statute? And is the plain meaning of regulate to impose tariffs or taxes? They asked. And isn't the administration upending the entire tariff schedule that Congress had enacted? Mr. Shumate argued that Mr. Trump's border taxes are similar to Richard Nixon's across-the-board 10% tariffs in 1971 under a precursor to IEPA. Those were upheld by an appeals court in 1975, Yoshida International. Mr. Shumate said Congress implicitly ratified a president's tariff authority when it enacted IEPA 2 years later. But that appellate court stressed that Nixon's tariffs were legal only because they were temporary measures and weren't imposing whatever tariff rates a president deems desirable. Mr. Trump is doing the latter. As one judge told Mr. Shumate, you are just discarding portions of Yoshida that you don't like. The High Court's Loper-Bright 2024 landmark says that judges shouldn't automatically defer to regulators' interpretations of vague laws. The court's major questions doctrine also holds that Congress must give the president express authority for actions with economic and political significance. Mr. Shumate said neither precedent applies to a president's power to conduct foreign policy. As one judge told Mr. Shumate, it seems, you're asking for unbounded authority to impose tariffs. Yes, he is. But as the small business plaintiffs argue, the president isn't a king, and the Constitution doesn't let him command the trade tides.
Here's the bottom line. Donald Trump tried to stretch a law meant for national emergencies into a blank check for his trade wars, and the judges weren't having it. This wasn't just a pushback, it was a reality check. Trump has been getting his way by blasting through guardrails, and that's not what democracy looks like. That's a dictatorship painted with a thick bronze veneer that's hard to look at. And meanwhile, the Fox propaganda channel and MAGA world are melting down over something else Trump can't control, real and raw data. And that's what today's news represents. A man who demands control is being exposed as someone who can't control everything, no matter how badly he wants to bend the world to his will. Trump's vision of his power knows no limits, but thankfully it was just demonstrated that his reach actually does. I'm Dan. Thanks for watching. Please leave your thoughts with a comment below, and let's continue to occupy democracy together.
I hate Occupy Democrats.